Yes, on est ici avec Taj Weekes à l'occasion de la sortie de son 6e album qui s'appelle To All My Relations. C'est sorti en physique le 1er mars 2019 dernier, mais c'est déjà disponible en digital depuis octobre. C'est 15 titres très engagés. On va parler aussi de son nouveau single. First of all, Taj Weekes, how are you?
I'm tired, but I'm good.
All right.
Yes.
Promo stuff is tiring.
Yeah, it is very tiring. But, that's what we came to do, so we do what we gotta do.
Yes, and we want to hear you.
Yes.
Okay. So you grew up in St. Lucia?
I was born in St. Lucia.
Uh-huh. But now you live in the US, right?
I live in St. Lucia and the US.
Okay, both.
Yes.
So I get the political environment influences your lyrics a lot?
Well, life, and it's not only political, there's beauty in it too. So all of it, just life in general influence the lyrics.
Okay, but I heard you meet a lot of people during your last tour, your last US tour?
The last year's tour, we ended up going to a place called Standing Rock. And we spent some time in Standing Rock. Standing Rock is a piece of North Dakota where the Native American people live, and some capitalist people were trying to run an oil pipeline through the land.
Yes.
And we know what happens with oil pipelines. They all bust and they leak. And if they leak into the people's land, then it destroys the land and the water. So people from around the world came together to stand up with the people of Standing Rock against the government and against the capitalists.
All right.
And they won for a minute but lost in the end. So we went there and we spent some time with them. We played music for them. We said prayers with them. And every time they stood together to say the prayers in their lands, they said the prayers to all my relations. So I liked the name To All My Relations and decided I was going to name my album To All My Relations.
Okay. Yes, understood. So you're very concerned about children and help the UNICEF in St. Lucie?
Yeah, well, I mean...
You haven't found your own association, Toko? Can you tell us more about this struggle?
Yeah, well, we founded Toko in 2008. And what we try to do is to take care of underprivileged children in the Caribbean. But we help a lot of children in St. Lucia because that's where we're from. So we do St. Lucia, we've done Trinidad, we've done Dominica, we've done Haiti. So we try to do as much as we can. So we help them through health and enrichment programs. So we have a soccer program, we have a dental program. We just brought down 513 bikes to give to the children.
So it's about health, but also education and
yeah, man, we try to do
happiness.
All of that, because if you have a happy child, you have happy parents, and if you have happy parents, you have happy children.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, the name of your band Adowa is related with the Battle of Adowa in Ethiopia?
1896.
Yes.
Yeah, the Italians came and tried to invade Ethiopia. Ethiopia was the only country in Africa that had not been invaded. And the Pope blessed all the arms and sent them to fight. But the Ethiopians won because they had Jah on their side. Yes. Ethiopia still remains the only unconquered country in all of Africa. Yeah.
That's why it's so important for you and for Rasta people in general.
Yeah, every Rasta man know about the Battle of Adowa because it's a victorious battle. And I wanted to name the band for something that was victorious. So I named the band Adowa.
Great. Good name. So you are a songwriter and composer, but Taj Weekes and Adowa is a band project. So how do you work together with the musicians?
Well, I write all the songs. And I bring the songs to the band. And everybody add their piece onto it. And we make music.
Okay.
Because I tell people the musicians are really important. It's Taj Weekes and Adowa, it's not just Taj Weekes. Adowa plays their role. There's a bass player and a drummer and a keyboard player and a guitar player and a backup singer. All of them make us sound the way we sound. So I am thankful for the band.
Everybody bring his own ideas?
Yeah, because it's like a football game, there's only one goalkeeper you can have. If the forward decide he want to be the goalkeeper, then things go haywire. Everybody have to recognize their strength, and everybody have to stick to their strength. And together we become a more perfect union. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah.
Okay, thanks. So your album and also your last single are produced by Sydney Mills. It's the producer and keyboards from Steel Pulse.
Yes.
What about this connection?
The vibes, man. Sydney have a lot of vibes. You know, Sydney has a lot of vibes and a lot of experience. So he brought that experience to the project. And for that, we were very thankful.
And how did you meet each other?
Well, we've known for each other for a while because Sydney lives in the city, he lives in New York City, and I live in the outskirts, so but I kind of live in New York still. But we've seen each other on the road at different festivals, and he's a very wonderful person, so we always planned to do something, but our schedules never allowed it. But you know, as Jah worked it out this time, we were able to make it work, and we got some good work out of it.
Yes, for very good results. And did you listen to the last Steel Pulse project? They have a new album?
I was in the studio. I was in the studio when Stop You Coming and Come was
I'm not sure
out.
it's released.
Yeah, man, Stop You Coming and Come, the first single is out.
Yeah. All right. We heard, listening your album, we heard a direct affiliation link with Bob Marley and the Wailers music, especially on Vibe Up, for example. Vibe Up that we can watch in video clip. So do you agree with that?
I make music. When I was making the album, I didn't listen to any other albums before, so I wasn't influenced in one direction or the other, but I've been listening to music for a while. So when you get in the studio, you know, you just go wherever the vibe leads you. You don't try to sound like anybody, you know, because at the end of the day, I would like to sound like me.
For sure.
You know, I wouldn't like to sound like anybody else. You know, but you know, I mean, I accept. Because if somebody compares you to something that's of a certain standard, you realize that they see you on that same level too. So I'm appreciative of that. But I would like to think that I sound like myself, and I try and strive to sound like Taj Weekes and Adore.
Okay, yeah. But we guess other influences too, ska, but even rhythm and blues, soul or folk songs on other songs on this album. So who are your main models or influences?
Well, I don't know if I have a model or I have models. I listen to all kinds of music. And it kind of stemmed out of when I was growing up in St. Lucia. On the radio, they played everything. So you had a little bit of all kinds of genres of music. And I've always appreciated everything. You know,
diversity.
Yeah, I think it's good to have a foundation of reggae. But in order for the music to grow, we have to add layers on top of it. As long as we're true to the root of the music, it's okay to add layers. Because like you mentioned Bob Marley and you mentioned Steel Pulse. Steel Pulse sounds like Steel Pulse.
For sure, yeah.
Right? The Wailers sound like the Wailers. But they listen to other people too. They just added their flavor to it. So that's what we do. You know?
Art.
Yeah, so we come with a foundation of reggae, but it doesn't belong to anybody really. And we just add vibes on top of it. And we make music.
Yes,
Yeah.
always often with Nyabinghi drums.
Yeah, on this album we used a lot of bingy because we wanted to pull out a vibe, you know, a real roots vibe in there. And when you have a man like Sydney Mills, he brings you back to the root, but he adds flavors on top of it. You know, so yeah.
Thank you. So this album, To All My Relations, is published by Jata Records and VPAL. Jata Records, is it your own independent label?
Yeah.
So why is it important to have your own label?
So I can say what I want to say when I want to say it. See, if I belong to another man's label, he can tell me, well, you can't sing Vibe Up, or you can't sing Son of a Bitch. I want to be able to make art. And I want to make art without restrictions.
Maybe it's a question of time also, take your time to
No, I think I make albums fairly quickly.
Okay.
You know, I've already written the next 3 albums.
Okay.
So it's not time really, because nobody puts pressure. But that might be an issue for some people. But for me, it's just a matter of releasing quality over quantity, you know? And at the same time, being able to say what we want to say, when we want to say it, and how we want to say it. So that's why we have our own label. Yeah.
Great, so it's Jata Records. How did you choose your name, Taj Weekes?
That's my name. That's what my
That's your real name?
That's my name.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay. Wrong question, so.
No, man, it's okay. It's okay.
So you are very concerned about sociological problems as heroin trade, so-called war against terrorism, weapons use. So we live in a crazy world. So how can we stay positive? Maybe not optimistic, but
well, you have to remain optimistic in order for you to move forward.
Uh-huh.
You know, pessimistic people don't go anywhere. But you know, among the fighting, we have to learn to replace it with a smile.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the thing is, it's not the average person who causes war; it's the leaders. So we just have to get rid of them, and there are more of us than there are them.
Mm-hmm.
So we just have to come together and get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a simple thing. You know, we just have to make everybody realize that we're all in the same boat, and them guys are in a different boat.
Mm-hmm.
So if we come together, because what they do is they try to set it up where when me and you have to get something, we have to fight for it.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to realize that it was set up that way. And if we can see it that way, then there's no need to fight. The only fight should be against the capitalists who try to make us fight against each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So yeah.
All right. Your last album was named Love, Urban Reggae. So is it the magical formula? And how does the herbs helps you?
Well, you know, the thing is, I told people when I was growing up,
Mm-hmm.
I heard the people say there was an anthem in the 60s called Sex, Drugs and Rock and Roll.
Uh-huh.
So I said a new anthem is Love, Urban Reggae.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Better.
And that's, yeah, man, that's better for your health, it's better for environment, it's better for unity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because
True.
herb is always better than drugs,
Mm-hmm.
and love is always better than sex.
Mm-hmm. And you talk about drugs on Big Pharma, for example. That you play.
Yeah.
Okay. So I forgot about that question. How did you begin singing reggae music?
I started singing anything at all. And my brothers and I would sing to my parents at night.
Mm-hmm.
We sang what was on the radio, you know, Sly and the Family Stone and the Jackson 5.
Mm-hmm.
But when the Rastafarian movement came into the Caribbean, it was bigger than R&B music for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was a movement, it was a way of life. It was something that taught me a different way of how to see things. Because I used to go to a Pentecostal church,
Mm-hmm.
and they told me that I could find salvation within 4 walls.
Mm-hmm.
But the Rastas told me that salvation was within.
Mm-hmm.
And that gave me a completely different outlook on life. And with that outlook came reggae music.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I heard reggae music, I got hooked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for this answer. So in your song SOB that you sang just right now, you use this slang word, which is quite unusual in reggae music. So you don't care about that?
Well, I care about everything. You know. I care about everything, but
that's not a problem for me. But
no, well, I used SOB because. So let me explain the whole story of SOB.
uh-huh.
A couple of years ago, there was a brother called Colin Kaepernick, who plays American football,
Mm-hmm.
who decided that because of police brutality, because they were killing black and brown people in the streets, that he wanted to take a stand. So he decided the best way he could take a stand was during an American football game by kneeling down when the national anthem was played,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when he did that, he did it only to fight against the injustice that was being done to black and brown people.
Mm-hmm.
But the President of the United States, the most powerful man on the face of the
Mm-hmm.
earth, in a land where the First Amendment, you know, the Constitution gives you the right to free speech,
Mm-hmm.
the President decided that he should call that person a son of a bitch. It was the President who said it, not me.
Mm-hmm.
So, for standing up for your rights, the President called you a son of a bitch. So I decided I was going to switch the words around
Mm-hmm.
and use the President's words to describe what was happening. So I said, the casual observer, that's the average man on the street, can say anything, but you as the President of a country, President of the free world, cannot call people son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, this casual observer can say what he wish, but you don't have the luxury as the commander-in-chief. And then I went on to say, you son of a bitch, That's what he called a brother who stood up for his First Amendment right. You son of a bitch, you brought injustice to the light. And he asked the owners of the American football teams to fire all the people who stood up or who knelt down for their rights. So I said, you son of a bitch, you're fired. Don't let them be hired. So it's just the president's words, but at the same time I want to tell you, the national anthem of America was not written for black and brown people. Because there's a verse that people don't sing that says, no refuge can save the hireling or slave from the terror of night or the gloom of the grave. So obviously it was not written for black people. And the brother who wrote it, Scott Keys, was a slave owner himself. So that is what we're fighting for. The right to be treated like everybody else is treated. This song is not my language. Because I've had 6 albums and you never heard that from me. But sometimes you have to say it as it is.
Yeah.
You have to say it so people can get the message. I didn't say these words. I'm just paraphrasing the leader of the free world. That's it.
Okay. Thanks a lot for this explication. So now let's talk about your brand new single. You have a brand new single. 5.1 is still alive.
1.5.
I'm sorry. Yes, 1.5 because it's about the degrees.
Yeah, but that would be
just a lot.
The numbers jump.
That's too hard to
we don't want to get that far, you know.
Okay.
No, well, in 2016, I was asked to sing a verse on a song called 1.5 to stay alive. And for the people who don't understand, if the global temperatures rise above 1.5 degrees, we in the Caribbean, we in the entire world will be affected. But because we in the Caribbean live on an island that is surrounded by water, the temperature rise and the water levels rise. The way we know life in the Caribbean will change. So we're asking that the temperature stay below 1.5.
Yes. Okay, and that's this single is a project with a lot of guests, including Bushman and Kenyatta Hill.
Yeah, Bushman, Kenyatta Hill, Aaron Silk, Razia Said, Zara McFarlane, Jaffe Paulino, Linda Chocolate, Berthia, Sidney Mills, Kendall Hippolyte is the brother who wrote the lyrics. He's a solution poet. He wrote the words, gave me the words and asked me to turn it into a song. And there's a group called Panos, Panos Caribbean, who is behind the entire movement to see that thing happen. Okay,
so you have this album, and donc il y a l'album To All My Relations, mais aussi ce single 1.5 is Still Alive qui sera bientôt disponible. Maybe two questions more. So Saint Lucia is just near Martinique.
Yes.
So are you following the local reggae scene there? Do you know some artists there?
No, I don't, because I spent so much time in America running around trying to make things happen that I know about the guys in Saint Lucia.
Okay.
But not so much about Martinique.
Okay, and what's your look more generally on the nowadays reggae scene in JA or in US? I mean, there's a lot of good reggae music today, but my advice is that often you have good songs. I like dance floor music, no problems, but you can't play reggae without you can't play reggae and throw away the message. So
yeah, well, listen, this is what I think. I think the journalists, the radio stations, newspapers, magazines are responsible for the narrative in reggae. I think the newspapers and the magazines tend to want to talk about who's bleaching his skin and who's fighting and who's dealing with slackness because it sells. And they've moved away from the message of reggae. If I sing slackness and you don't play me and you only play positive, then I have to turn positive because I want the airplay. But if you play in the slackness, why should I even change? You know? And I think to a certain extent, journalists like yourself are responsible to make sure the narrative of reggae stays positive. Because there are lots of positive people in reggae.
Yeah.
You know, rebellion for me is bringing down 500 bikes to help children. That's my idea of rebellion.
Mhm.
See?
Concrete things.
Yeah, because reggae is a verb. It's a doing word. You know? To talk plenty and do no works at all is a waste of time for me. You know? And unless the journalists and the magazines and everybody decide that we need to show the other side of reggae. Because you see, if you keep showing the negative, people will come to think that reggae is about that. You know?
Yeah.
We need to show the people that there's a positive side. And to this day, the reggae that sells the best is still the reggae of the 70s that was carrying a message. You know? It's okay to have dancehall, but we have to remember it wasn't about just the beat, it was about the message. And we have to keep the message positive. And in order to get that done, journalists, magazines and newspapers have to put the message out.
Yes.
You know?
So definitely we will play this album. So it's Taj Weekes and Adowa. Le 6e album de Taj Weekes et Adowa, ça s'appelle To All My Relations. C'est sorti en physique, en digital. Il y a le nouveau single 1.5 Is Still Alive qui sortira à la fin du mois si mes notes sont bonnes. Donc Taj Weekes, thanks a lot for this time.
Yeah, man.
And I hope to see you in concert soon in France.
Well, coming back in September for a fall tour. So yeah, man, you'll see us.
Okay,
for sure.
so let us know.
Yes,
Yes,
thanks.
Yes.
Yes, I.